Hi everyone, welcome back to another For Those Who Code video. This channel is where we together learn and share skills around the topics of design and development. If you want to grow your skills and learn new things that's coming up, please like, share, and please do subscribe for more. In this video, we'll be building a URL Shortner application. Let's take a quick look at what we'll be building. And by the way, if you want to skip to a specific part of the video, you can obviously click the timestamps added in the video description down below as well. So for our URL Shortner generator, as you can see here, it's running in my localhost 8080, and it's pretty much simple forward, and it's just basic React code right here. We have an input field where we can type or paste in our URLs right here. If I type in some URLs right here, then this is not a valid URL. So if I take in some random URL, I will just take in with the URL from the Snowpack documentation, and obviously we'll be making the use of Snowpacks here. And as you can see here, our button has been activated. And if we type in some random gibberish, which is not pretty much a valid URL, which is behind the scene validated through regex. So we just paste in the URL here, and if we click on create a link, and it will definitely create a link for us. It may take 1 or 2 seconds delay in between, so that it depends upon your bandwidth out there. So after the link has been generated, let's wait a bit. Yeah, the link has been generated to us, and as you can see here, we have this particular link, which is pretty much shorter. If we click on this particular link, and we will see this awesome your link has been copied, and it will disappear within some seconds, and we can obviously check whether that link is pretty much working or not. And it's definitely working, and we just pasted out the dev server of Snowpack's link right there, so which is great. So this is pretty much working fine. So we'll be making and building this particular application right here. So about the packages and tech stack that we'll be using to complete this particular application are definitely we'll be making the use of React, which is a JavaScript library for creating user interface, and we'll be obviously be experimenting with Snowpacks. I'm personally using Snowpacks for the first time, so let's try it out. And Snowpacks, if you don't know, it's a build tool just like Vite, Webpack, Rollup, and great build tools out there. And the other packages and libraries that we'll be using is Tailwind CSS, which is a utility first CSS framework that we'll be using here. And obviously for making our HTTP request right here, we'll be making the use of Axios, which is a promise based HTTP client for browser and Node.js. We'll be making the use of this particular library to make our calls to our API endpoints out there. And lastly, we'll be making the use of Shortcode, which is a third-party API that's freely available to us to make the use of URL shorteners so that our URLs look cleaner and easier to look. And lastly, we'll be making the use of this particular base template, which I have pretty much prepared. This is just a boilerplate and starter template configured right away with Snowpack's React Husky, and also prettier. So I suppose it's pretty much configured well. It's pretty much working fine. But if you find any errors, please do send some PRs so that it would be really great. So enough of the talk. Let's get into writing some code. I've cloned the base template that we just created before, and it's configured with Snowpacks and React. And I've already opened up the browser, which is here, and it's spinning up the code right here. So we have pretty much working fine, and we have also added Tailwind here. So if I change this to pink, then this should change this to pink, which is great. And obviously it complains about the JIT flag mode is still in preview or so we'll be just disabling JIT for now and moving ahead with our application that we are building right now. The great thing about Snowpack is it's built with ESM. It's kind of like if I just say app.jsx, then it's just refreshes app.jsx, not every folders and files inside. And here, as you can see, it has detected some change inside of app.js. So it just spin up the hot module replacement. So after everything is pretty much working fine, we'll just go head towards our building our application. So first of all, I will just land to Tailwind because we need some forms there, and I'll just grab some forms. So let's browse what do we have here. So inside of our Tailwind components, we pretty much have some forms that we need. So we will be making the use of simple text field and a button. So I will just grab the form layout. Let's click this one, and this is pretty much complicated form that we see here. I'm just looking for a simple form, which is so this will be pretty much fine. We'll just add our edits to our heading and all the edits that's necessary here. So let's grab it from here to here and bring it inside of our application right here. So let's copy it and let's paste this stuff right in here. So I want to remove that and just add a div and paste it right here. And we can see some errors. It says that no closing tags. Let's make sure that everything is copied. I think we do have a copy right here, which should be React. So let's copy everything inside of return function right here and until the div. So let's go and paste it right here. So after everything that has been copied, let's also remove the use effect, because we won't be really making the use of use effect, but obviously we need use state hook to maintain our state inside of our application right here. And let's save it and let's take a look at the browser. What do we see here? And let's hit a refresh. It says lock close icons is not defined because we haven't really imported hero icons here. So we won't be using any hero icons here, but obviously we'll just import it and keep it inside of assets folder. We'll be later on adding here. Let's hit a save and let's take a look at the browser, and everything looks pretty much working fine, and there's no issue in the console. So I'll just removing everything out and placing up just a text field and a button and a heading. So I'll just tweak this one. After a few CSS tweaks from the Tailwind classes has been added to this particular form, our form currently looks something similar like this, which is pretty much we are trying to achieve. And yeah, we will have this input field, the value of input field inside a state variable, and we'll be just adding regex to validate that particular variable and setting up this button to active or inactive, and ultimately calling the API later on. So first of all, let's just go to the documentation. As we can see here, we have the API based URL just here, and let's copy this one out and let's paste it inside of our .env files, which is pretty much configured with our base template with Snowpacks and React. And inside .env file right here, I'll just grab the environment variables that we need and replace it here. And it's pretty much straightforward, and it's just environment variable. And good thing about sort URL, sort code, which is this API that we are trying to use, is they obviously have the developer API, which we are currently looking at, and it looks like they don't have any authorization header which needs to be added. So it's pretty much straightforward. So it's just this get endpoint or post endpoint, which is pretty much simple to use. Okay, so after env files, env has been added. Now let's head on to our SRC and create a new folder here, and let's call it API. And inside of API, let's name it a new file and call it requests. And inside request, we first want to import Axios from Axios. We'll just import Axios from Axios first of all. And secondly, we will create a export default function, which is named getLink. And this getLink will take in link URL and link. So I just passed your link URL and the link here itself, and later on we just add a variable and call it link formatter, and so that we'll format our link as per the request that's needed, which is this particular thing. So which is this particular thing. I'll just copy it and paste it right here so that we can understand what's the endpoint is trying to accept. So as you can see here, link formatter and the base end file we created, /sorten. So we have /sorten and the rest of the thing, and that's link formatter. So the link URL and link is passed down to this function, which we'll be pretty much using inside of our app.jsx. So after that's been done, we just call Axios with just plain which accepts application JSON and just return the response. And if we have any errors, just throw the error. And it's just simply try-catch block with just Axios used. So let's move on to app.jsx. So inside here we will have pretty much of a lot of things going on here. First of all, let's get this particular thing that we just exported from our requests, which is get links from requests. So after this has been imported, we will need to figure out some state that we are trying to preserve our state for the link that's been received. So we will make the use of a couple of states here. First of all, we want the state for the inputs and set input. So I'll grab in the two states that needed, input and set input. So input is this particular input field, which holds the variable of the value inside of this particular input field. So inside that particular input field, we will listen to onChange handler and add a value of input right here. So we basically haven't created any handle key down event which listens to the onChange handler right there. So for the handle key down event, we will add some code here so that we will be just handling that particular thing right here. So we have our set input and also input, which holds the value of that particular input, which is this input. It's Axios not found because I think the Axios has been installed. So if not, I'll just go ahead and install Axios, npm I Axios. So after the Axios has been installed, let's start our server right here and let's hit refresh. Everything looks fine. So let's move back and take a look at the handle key down function. So handle key down function will take in another function, which is valid URL. Pretty much we haven't really created that particular function yet. So valid URL function would look something like this, which we will be creating a constant which takes in the string, and inside there we have a pattern of regex that it needs to be validated. If it's not this particular string that's passed in, which is this particular thing, event target.value, which can be accessed from event parameter right here, and after accessing that one, we will pass it as a string here. So if it is valid, then we will set disabled to disabled. If it's not valid, we will set disabled to empty. So we haven't really made the use of disabled and set disabled, so we'll also need to maintain that state. So we added here. So we'll definitely make the use of this disabled inside this button right here, but we haven't added anything. So we'll come to that later. So link and set link is just the link that we received as a response from the API. So we will also make the use of that one soon. So it's pretty much looks pretty much fine for now. So after adding this one, let's also create a handle submit function so that we can listen to our submit events. So we will just add a handle submit function, but we haven't really created that handle submit inside of our form. So we will just add the handle sum inside this form as well, so that we can listen to the handle sum function through our forms. So after the handle submit function, which is pretty much added to our forms, we will trigger set loading to true. We also haven't really used loading state yet, so we'll also grab some loading state and put in some loading state. Initially the set loading is initially false, and later on, after handling submit, we'll set that to true, and we'll call this get sort URL. So as you can see, we haven't really made that particular function yet, so we will make that particular function which looks pretty much similar to this. So we have an asynchronous function which waits for the data to be fetched. So first of all, we added a constant and call it format string, because we want to make sure that the string that we are passing to our API is pretty much formatted well, so that everything is pretty much working fine. So it's toString, to lowercase, and trim all the white spaces that we have. And our URL would be this particular URL, which is accessed from our .env files. And Snowpack's looking at the documentation, as we can see, we can access the environment files with this particular format. And if you are still wondering about this new way of accessing the environment variables, please do refer to the Snowpack documentation. It's already there. So lastly, we just waited for all the links as we passed here our URL and format string. And in the request, as you can see here, let's split up to the right, and let's collapse this one. And this get link will take a link URL and link, which is passed as our URL format string, and which is pretty much fine for now. And we'll set loading to false. And lastly, we'll set link to the link that we received from this response that we called the API. So after that's been done, we will make the use of this link here. So we haven't really used that particular link down here. So let's go ahead and add that link inside of our template. So to add that link inside of our template, we first need to create a div here inside down of our form, which is this one. So we have added a place where our link lives. So this is if we don't have any empty strings inside of our links, then it would render this one, which is pretty much JSX all right in here. So as you can see here, we also added an on-click event to the button itself that we added here. So I'll just save it, and I'll come to that pretty much later on sooner, so that we will be much clearer about it. So disabled and set disabled. For disabled and set disabled, now we also haven't made the use of that particular state yet. So for that particular state, we will go inside of our buttons here and make the use of that particular state. So inside of our button here, if it's disabled, we will set this class. If it's not disabled, then we will set this class. It's pretty much straightforward. And we also made the use of loading. So as you can see here, all the states has been used. And loading, if it's case of loading, we will show this image URL, which we added as a loader. As you can see here, we haven't imported that particular loader yet. So we will right away import 3 icons needed, which is loader, copy, and a tick icon. So we haven't really made the use of tick icon, so we will just add a loader for now. So After adding the loader here, if it's loading, set to true, we will show this loader. So where the loading is set to true. So when we handle as our submit form, we set our loader to true so that our loader appears there, and which is this particular loader, which is RCF loader. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's hit a save and let's take a look at the browser. What do we see there? So before that one, I want to add a console log statement right here. I want to console log what do we have here inside of our link here. Let's add a console log here. So before we set a link, let's print out our, or after we our link right in here. So let's hit save and let's take a look at the browser. Let's hit refresh and let's delete everything. As you can see here, we are pretty much validating our regex, but let's copy the same URL that we added before, which is from the Snowpack docs, and let's paste it here, and we can see here our link has been validated and our button is pretty much activated. And if we click on here, we should get a response of this particular shortened URL, so in the console right here. So let's wait for a few seconds. It depends upon your bandwidth, and here we have it. And as we can see here, it's just empty string, but we have a link here. It's kind of weird, but let's take a look at what we did here. So we have the link here. We just console log the link here, and let's console log this everything inside of setlink. So I'll just add everything inside of setlink, and again copy this one and refresh and paste it right in here and create a link. So everything seems to be working fine, where we have the generated URLs right here. So the link is printed out right here. So what have we done right here? We pretty much haven't discussed about what have we done right here. So we have created an on-click function to this particular button that's kind of appended to the DOM. So if we have this particular link, then we will append this particular state to the DOM. So where we have the button, and if if the button is clicked, we will make the use of navigator.clipboard write text, which is a native browser thing. So if we go ahead and search for this particular navigator.clipboard and go to here, it's a native browser thing where we kind of copy the text from the web pages. So it's a clipboard interface write text property which specifies the text string of the system clipboard. So we can read back using a read or read text. So this is pretty much great. So it has also a lot of browser compatibility. So we used this one rather than using something like copy to clipboard or something, some similar packets like that. So after clicking on and copying that particular text, we will set the copies to true. So we haven't really defined our state for set copies. So set copies and copies lets us know that our text has been copied. So we will also add that particular piece of state there, and we have made the use of set copied so that we know that our text has been copied after clicking this one, and we will add set copies to false after certain interval of time. So it's pretty much this one for this particular button. So after this button click function has been added, we haven't made the use of copied. So to add a copy, we will create another div just right in here, so that we will add if it's copied, then we will see this particular UI. If it's not, it's just empty thing right there. So and copied is just a boolean property. We just have initially false, and after clicking this one, this button which is the button right here, which is not visible right there, but after the URL has been shortened, after clicking on that particular button, we will set this copy to true, so that we can see our this particular thing we added right here for a few seconds, and it sets a copy back to false after a few seconds, which is probably 5,000 milliseconds. And yeah, this is everything that we need. So everything looks to be working fine. Let's hit save, and let's see everything inside a browser. So let's again copy the same URL from Snowpacks and clear our console right here and click on create a link. So we added our boolean property for the loader to show or hide based on the boolean property we discussed about, and waiting on a few seconds, we should see the results. And we can see here our link has been printed here to the console and also here. And if we click on this particular link, we see that tick is not defined. It's because we just removed the tick icon that we haven't really imported, but we removed it before because we weren't using that particular icon. So let's add the link here again, so it would be pretty much the same link. So yeah, let's wait for a bit. So after the link has been generated to us, we can copy it, and it says awesome, your link has been copied. It's for a certain set interval of time, which we added down here, right inside the on-click handler, inside of our link shortened link button. So after 5,000 milliseconds, it sets this state to false, so that we don't see that particular thing right here. After again clicking on it, we can see it, and after 5,000 milliseconds, it disappears. And let's add it inside of our browser here, and here we have it. Our link is pretty much working fine, and our application is working as expected. So guys, in this video we understood and quickly learned on how we can create a workable URL shortener with a free third APIs freely provided to us, thanks to code.de, so providing us with a free API so that we can freely use it. So thank you for you guys as well for watching videos till the end. I assume I have explained my best efforts to make you clear. If you guys want to learn more about design and development stuff, please like, share, and do subscribe with a click down below. Also, please join our growing Discord community server added in the description as well. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next one.